Alrighty guys, hello and welcome back to the show. So today we're going to look at a pro level ladder match, but instead of doing like a kind of a casting play-by-play, which is kind of what I usually do, instead we're going to try and break apart the build orders of these guys, talk about the various strategies. Let's introduce our players real quick. On the northern corner, these guys are both casters, both really cool people. But we've got Swackle. He's going Cybran opening in the first land position, and then his opponent down to the south is Jagged Appliance, who's going UEF opening first land as well. These guys play ladder against each other quite a bit. If you guys have seen Jagged's streams, Jagged is also a streamer, so play ladder against each other quite a bit. And so with that, we'll go ahead and go into split screen and let's take a look at overall build orders. So pretty standard right off the bat. We've got first engineer going for a hydro, and actually Swackle is not going to build a second engineer. He's actually going to go for a raiding party, and Jagged goes for second engineer with hydro assistance. Jagged doesn't have anything else queued up just yet. Swackle has a couple of P-gens queued up for some adjacency, and it looks like he's going second land, third air. Yep, second land, third air. So Swackle gone for some initial harass with that land scout as well as the lab. Jagged, I believe, is just only focused on engineers. But regardless, third engineer for Jagged went for the reclaim here. Second engineer for Swackle has got a couple of reclaim orders. Yeah, so Swackle going for more manual reclaim on the rocks before going for this. Jagged has queued up a bunch of these tree groups as well. And Jagged has more engineers to play with because he didn't go for that early aggression. So he has a little bit more luxury as far as where his engineers are actually going to go. He's actually got second engineer reclaiming, grabbing some rocks. Swackle's another engineer going for reclaiming rocks as well. And then we have the first tank coming off the line for Swackle. Swackle, even with less build power though, Swackle sooner to his second factory than Jagged. Swackle also going for second land, Jagged going for second air. And we'll see if that initial raid's not going to pay off for Swackle there. And we'll go back to single screen now because I wanted to do split screen for just the initial build orders. But Jagged queued up a tank out of a factory, I think, after his third engineer. And this is a really common... So Jagged playing definitely more defensively here than Swackle is, whereas Swackle playing much more offensively. So initial raiding party. Although playing offensively only works if you get engineers, and this didn't work out for him. And I'm kind of curious how that has affected reclaim numbers. So let's go ahead and look at reclaim. So Swackle actually still getting more reclaim than Jagged with equivalent mass income. So that's actually a really, really good thing there for Swackle, that he's able to maintain similar or even, you know, equivalent or even slightly better eco while going for a little bit more of an offensive build, even though it didn't pay off for him. Definitely would have been a lot better if he could have grabbed an engineer. Like if he had gotten this engineer back here, that would have been a lot better, because that meant that Jagged would have had to just walk another engineer over to this southeastern corner. And bombers coming out now for both players. Let's look at their build queue real quick out of their air factory. So we've got, I'm just going to count up the interceptors. So we got a scout, an interceptor. I don't think anything has died yet. That might be an interceptor. Yep, I think one interceptor has died, but I think that's a UEF interceptor. So Swackle went two interceptors, and then interceptor scout, and then a bomber, and has now queued up 3 interceptors, air transport, 5 bomber, scout, and then 20 inties. So let's look at Jagged's. I'm really getting into the nitty gritty here, so y'all can come with me on this one, or yeah. So we've got 3 interceptors, hummingbird, 2 interceptors, bomber, hummingbird. And then as of what he has on the field right now, we've got a scout, interceptor, and then a bomber as well. So very, very similar first bomber harass coming out of these guys. But a little bit of that early aggression is going to pay off here. Swackle is going to pick up a engineer there for Jagged. And on the northern side, I don't think Jagged is at all encroached. I'm going to turn the minimap back on now that we're not in split screen. Swackle actually going to get a couple of engineer kills, I think. Interceptor just now comes off there for Jagged. So Jagged doing a little bit more bomber harass. I think Swackle focusing on both land and air harass. Is actually bagged. This is going to make it 3 engineers, assuming he kills this one. Which he will not. Okay. And then meanwhile, this bomber up top has got 1 kill to its name. So early aggression from Swackle paying off a little bit more than from Jagged. Swackle actually going to start bombing the power grid here. There's a nice little engineer clump here that he could pick up. There he goes. 4 engineers down. Hate to see it. And then 4 land factories, 5th and 6th queued up there. Jagged's got 4, and then 5th is done. 6th is on the way. So is the 7th, and then there's an 8th actually up here in a more forward position. Swackle getting one in a similar position. So really, I think that Swackle went for more aggressive land right off the bat. But even though I think Swackle might have more units on the field, I'm actually going to play this just to see. So 18 tanks versus Jagged's 21. Wow, so Jagged has more units on the field too. All right. Not quite sure where some of Swackle's eco went. He's building a lot of power. He's also split building factories, so building multiple factories at the same time, but definitely more of a Tech 1 land investment here. This is painful. As you can see, a lot of Swackle's land forces came down to the south here with his commander. Jagged's split it up a little bit more, so he's got kind of equivalent land forces down towards the south and up towards the north. Swackle will be able to mop this up, though. Now, I want to keep an eye on when Tech 2 mechs start upgrading, because it's 6 minutes. I probably would have clicked a Tech 2 mechs at this point, but I also wouldn't have this many land factories right off the bat. I also probably wouldn't have this much reclaim. So more land factories coming out for Jagged, but he's spreading out his production a little bit more. Swackle, I think, keeping it a little bit more condensed into his main base. He has a couple of perimeter factories. Those are a little bit more, I think, for engineers. There's a couple of combat units coming out of this guy, but Mantis, or 1 Mantis, but mostly engineers. And this one is purely just a dedicated reclaim factory. So you got engineers on the control attack move out of the factory, getting that extra range. But mirroring each other almost exactly to a T. It's like these guys understand the build order for this map. So factory landing here. Similar factory down here for Swackle. Swackle's going to add a point defense here as well. Which is interesting. I almost never build PD because I'm scared of the sunk cost because PD don't move. So I'm wondering, and I think Jagged might share my feelings because I don't see any PD out of him either. Swackle also quicker to his drop. Last time I played this map, I didn't even realize these existed, by the way. That's how tunnel visioned I am. So there are 3 mexes on in either corner that are kind of plateaus that you can drop to. Last time I played this map, though, I completely missed it. I did win that game, though, so that's all that matters. And more land factories coming in for Swackle. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Most of which are producing. And this guy's actually on an upgrade to Tech 2. So he's making the jump to Tech 2 at 8 minutes in. Curious where Jagged is. So Jagged not making the jump to Tech 2 just yet. Jagged being also much more aggressive with his commander. So Jagged doesn't have a whole lot of land forces here to support. Part of this is because Swackle is literally kneecapping him and beating his legs out from under him with this little T1 land run by, which is really, really good. And does Jagged not have radar here? Okay, so he has radar here. I was about to be like, whoa. But Swackle's commander hasn't moved to do a similar position here. So essentially what's happened here is while Swackle has been able to move in and take out a lot of his production, Jagged's been able to move out and take out 4 mexes here, as well as quite a few Tech 1 land units. The commander, even without a gun upgrade, very, very strong. And you can see Jagged using his commander, I would argue, a little bit better here than Swackle. And just like, to be 100% clear here, guys, like I'm a 1200 on custom games and I'm like 1000 on the ladder. And these guys literally are double my rating. So I'm not going at this from like a, oh, this is bad, this is good. I'm also trying to learn this and understand kind of the thought process here. So Jagged had gone for a drop here. He's got some engineers and some tanks. So instead of dropping his safe plateau, Jagged went for an aggressive drop here with some tanks. You can see Jagged actually just straight up capturing these. So that's interesting. It is a that is so much faster. Like, can you imagine? So, okay, commander deals 100 damage per second. Means it's going to take 5 seconds to kill this mex, and then it's going to take another, I don't know, 4 or 5 seconds, 6 seconds maybe, to actually build the mex. So 10 seconds per mex. This is a, you know, a little less than 50-second total time investment here. If you saw how quickly he captured these, he captured them in like 3 to 4 seconds. So that is definitely something to pick up with your commander. If you're moving your commander in an aggressive fashion like this. I had no idea that capturing was that much quicker than actually just reclaiming or destroying. So Swackle now going for another drop here. He should be able to clean this up eventually. There's no artillery here. Only 1 tank left there. So Jagged not dropping artillery there, only dropping tanks. But overall unit movement, I think from Jagged has been interesting. He's been hammering this spot quite a bit. And that's I think given him a little bit of breathing room. So if you look at, so this little gap right here, he's just been kind of constantly sending T1 units through here. That's kept Swackle tied up just fighting for this position. He's even dropped a PD here. Whereas, and that allowed Jagged to walk up here and just capture those mexes. Then on the southern side, Swackle didn't do the same thing. He's actually going for a gun upgrade right now, which is definitely good. I mean, getting a gun upgrade is, it's hard to argue with that. But okay, so Jagged's actually gone for T2 air. He's got his power generator coming up. Both of these guys close to 50 mass income per tick. Have they clicked a mex upgrade yet? Okay, so Swackle has 1 mex upgrade that is in process right now. Jagged the same. So both of these, judging by, so huge prioritization on unit production from both these players, as opposed to resource production. And they prioritize reclaim a lot. Like you can see the engineers all over the place just vacuuming up reclaim. But definitely not as proactive on upgrading mexes as I thought they might be. And that might be just because that's probably because this is ladder. And on ladder, you know, you're kind of responsible for all your units and you have to cover the entire map. So you have to make a couple of sacrifices. But Tech 2 air out from Jagged, who has not clicked up to Tech 2 land. Unless it's on a different factory somewhere. No. Okay. So going more on the air, he's got 3 total air factories, 2 of which are at Tech 1. Swackle's still working with his initial one, but he is up to Tech 2 land. He only went for 1 HQ, which is really, really good. And Swackle now going for PD here. Because this spot, this little, like between this lake and this mountain, Jagged has just hammered that constantly. And that was a really, really good strategic move, and something that I think a lot of us can learn from there is the way that Jagged used... I don't think he didn't fight necessarily as many Tech 1 units with his commander, but he used Tech 1 units to keep Swackle occupied. He knows Swackle's commander's over here, so he doesn't have to worry about that. But he used Tech 1 units to tie up Swackle's army here. Even if he takes some losses, it's okay, because he gets these 4 mexes. Then he can do this and just essentially hold here. And that's translated to an eco lead. So literally just sending units up through this little breach and then going and capturing these mexes has led to a pretty solid eco lead, whereas Swackle hasn't done necessarily the same thing, and there aren't point defense here that are going to stop him if he wants to send Tech 1 units through this little gap into some of the production here. We have another Tech 2 supporting Air Factory. Going for TMD. Now, Tech 2 build order is one thing I wanted to look at for the Cybran specifically. So we've got a Deceiver, 5 tanks, a Viper, and a Mobile AA, or a Banger. So not using the hoplites, actually. Going for instead the main battle units. Jagged built a couple of gunships out of his Tech 2 HQ, which he used to secure this bottom corner. And actually, I think harass this top corner, although the Sky Slammers came out soon enough, I think. I think he's only got the 1 gunship bumping around. But value gunship here, 7 kills to its name, cleared out an entire corner, allowed Jagged to drop to it. But now you start to see the problem with not going for Tech 2 land. Is Jagged gone? Okay, so he has gone for Tech 2. Oh, he's just going straight for Tech 3 and queuing up a ton of Titans. And we have all core mechs upgraded or very, very close to upgraded to Tech 2. Swackle, Tech 2 there, Tech 2 there, Tech 1, and then getting his 3rd one right now, but his 4th one isn't upgraded. And I have to think that it's because of these 4 mexes. Like, mass in this game can be treated in an exponential fashion, which is even something like 4 mexes worth of production. This is an entire T2 mex upgrading here. So that means that Jagged has essentially sniped Swackle's ability to get a T2 mex upgrade by hammering this opening, and Swackle still hasn't gotten this back yet. Or he has our artillery hitting the point defense there. But the fact that Jagged has more Tech 2 mass and has the ability to go to Tech 2 air and Tech 3 land, I think is almost entirely due to these 4 mexes. And the flexibility that gave Jagged from a mass perspective. Let's look at reclaim numbers. See, again, lockstep on the reclaim side. Mass income, actually pretty close. I was actually expecting that to have a much higher delta. Oh, it's because Jagged is power stalling really, really badly right now. I'm going for that Tech 3 land upgrade. But this is risky. You can see what Jagged sees right now. He does not see very much. Now that his radar's back, he does start to see these units. But now his commander's out on the island here. But the Tech 2 air has really been paying dividends here, giving him a lot of that flexibility to move around the map. Even though it means that he can't necessarily take square on engagements against flak, it does give him a lot of flexibility here to move around the map. Oh, we got a drop back here too. That should be cleaned up by this Titan though. There's a lot of Sky Slammers and like 1 Mantis in this mix. I don't even think they kill a Mex. Yep. No Mex. No Mex casualties here. Then these guys are brothers in arms here in the water as Swackle going for a torpedo launcher. And it's kind of a bummer here that Swackle doesn't have Well, actually, I don't know if that would have been worth it. But more Tech 2 land investment coming out of Swackle. Now I want to see... okay. Jagged is still got huge power issues. 67 mass income per tick, though. Both of these guys, again, very close on mass. Alright, maybe I'm just talking out of my ass about how important those 4 mexes were, but I thought they'd be a little bit more important than they were. Another torpedo launcher coming up. So this is again where... So this is where Swackle hits his kind of power curve. Around the gun upgrade and keeping Jagged kind of locked into this pond, unable to use his commander. But Jagged's got his own power curve that he's exploiting, and that is the gunships and the air production. Still only 1 air factory there for Swackle, so if we look at interceptor count, which might as well be ASF count, there are 6. Jagged has 13 with 1 out of fuel. So that means that he's able to cover these gunships, and these are Tech 2 mexes that Swackle cannot afford to lose going down right now. And he's got Titans on the field. Now, granted, Jagged's land production right now is... He's gone all in on this Titan play. The last of his Tech 1 units are really up here. I think he's shut off a lot of his Tech 1 land production. So he's throwing everything into Titans right now. And then harassing with air units. And the harassing is working. Like, 4 mexes are back there. He's got another couple gunships that are back here. The Tech 2 airplay, I think he's paying off for him, all things considered. He's about to snipe a couple more mexes here with these gunships. And he's causing problems for land. So again, mass is a logarithmic. The amount of mass that you are making within a game can be logarithmic in nature, where the more mass that you pull in, the faster you can advance your economy, and it is a hockey stick to an extent until you kind of max out your Tech 3 mexes. Then it starts to plane out a little bit more whenever you go into either RASCOMs or mass fabs. But the combination of, yeah, I think Swackle keeping a hold of these 4 mexes and then losing a bunch of his mass to air has put him in a very precarious spot in terms of mass, at only 40 mass income right now. Although he could pull it off here if, well, here are a lot of Titans here. So the Tech 3 paying off here. And I've got to wonder if Swackle had gone for this gun upgrade and then just walked his commander into this area instead of walking across the map to Jagged's commander, what would have happened? Because I don't think his... Well, he's gotten 40 kills on his commander. Who am I? Alright. Who am I to judge here? My 2 cents, though, would be walking your commander in a more aggressive fashion than a defensive fashion. Because he's already invested in PD. Like, the PD are going to make Jagged think twice in combination with the Tech 2 units, I think, about being aggressive. And I think outside of that, only having 1 Tech 1 air factory has really hurt Swackle here. Jagged has been largely unmolested at home. He's really only got 1 factory producing on the land side. He's actually got never mind, he's got 2. He's upgraded a supporting factory, which is good. I'm realizing how arrogant some of the things that I'm saying can come across. Like, oh, you should do that, you shouldn't do that. Ha ha ha. I'm more just trying to learn the pitfalls of various decisions at this level. And I'm trying to take you guys along for the ride, so... Hopefully it doesn't sound arrogant, because both of these guys could literally squash me like a bug in ladder. Although Jagged, I wanted to do that rap battle with you, man. rap battle into a game where you absolutely destroy me. I think that would be I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Jagged though penned in here. This is kind of dangerous, potentially. Swackle's just like all in on these torpedo launchers. But the Titans have come in to the rescue, I think. Tech 3 land once again paying dividends. Swackle not overcharging with his commander, focusing on the torpedo launchers. Which this one has completed? It has completed. Doesn't look like it's firing though. But the Titan Horde has arrived. Swackle's even getting some love taps from some stingers from the skies. Swackle has jumped to Tech 2 air and is got some torpedo bombers out. This is kind of a funny situation here. But mass tells the entire story here. Jagged up to 95, mass protects Swackle at 33. Yep, Swackle's, I think, only chance here is killing Jagged's commander right now, which I don't think he has the ability to. He has made the jump to Tech 3 land. He's got Loyalists coming out, but a little bit too little, I think too late. And he will bow out at that point. So, I think tactically, I learned a couple of interesting things, and it was highlighted by the different ways that these players approached the map, which was tying up. I think the biggest one that I learned is tying up a Tech 1 army and maybe not necessarily fighting with your commander, but using your commander to establish key positions, like these 4 mexes right here, which he never upgraded, but he also never lost, while never losing this position. I don't think he did, at least. Yeah, these are all reclaimed. This isn't Rex. Yeah, those are rocks. Going for Tech 2 air was a ballsy play, but it definitely paid off. It was a high risk, high reward play, going for the Tech 2 air, and then he doubled down on the high risk, high reward. Like, this is the equivalent of like the dealer at a blackjack table showing an ace, and you're like, "Yep, I'm gonna double down and split," and then he went for Tech 3 land, but it worked, and it worked because he had the mass to be able to pull it off. So this was a really interesting game to watch. Picked this game for a couple different reasons. A, it was a pro level. B, it wasn't like a stupidly weird map, which some of the pro ladder matches are on kind of crazy maps. And C, it's 2 guys that are really, really nice and have helped me quite a bit. So I don't know. Hopefully y'all can learn from this. I definitely learned a couple of things from this game, and I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.